In this video, I am going to explain the object class in Java. Object class is a special class in Java which is the superclass of all the classes. This class lies in the top of the class hierarchy in java.lang package, which means that every class is directly or indirectly subclass of this class. So object reference can hold the reference of any class. Example, object obj is equal to new any class. So you can create the instance of any class and the object reference can hold it perfectly fine. Object class defines methods which are available to every class. First one is clone, and it creates the clone of the object. For this method to be called, the class must implement the clonable interface, or any of its superclass must implement this clonable interface. Otherwise, calling this method will throw the clone not supported exception. By default, if you are not overriding clone and the object to be cloned contains the external object reference, then the change in the external object reference will be reflected to its copy. So in such cases, you must override the clone according to the requirements. Next one is equals, which returns true if the objects are equal and returns false otherwise. You can also override this method according to your own requirements. Next is finalize, which may be called by the system in case the object is no longer in use. Next is getClass, which obtains the class of an object at runtime. Next is hashCode. This method returns the hashcode associated with invoke object, which is basically the memory address of an object in the hexadecimal format. Next is notify and notify all. These method resumes the execution of a thread. Next is toString, and this returns the string representation of the object. This method is implicitly called when the object is output in println. Overriding this toString method is very useful for debugging purposes. Next is wait, which waits on another thread of execution. Methods such as getClass, notify, notify all, and wait are final, so you cannot override them. Now moving to our IDE. To show the toString method, I have created a class A which contains a variable a value, and I am setting the value of this a value variable in the constructor. And here is our toString method which prints the a value colon the value of the variable. And moving to our main class, object class, I have created the object of a and just written the system.out.println and a object. So as I have printed the a object here, it will implicitly call the toString method. So let me run the program. As you can see, a value colon 2 is printed, which means that this toString method is called when the object is output in the println method. To show the equals method, I have to override it. So typing equals, here is the method structure. Now I will be providing my own implementation here, which returns true if the objects are equal and false otherwise. So for me, the two objects are equal if their a values matches. So if a value is equal to the receiving object dot a value, but I am not getting the autocomplete feature from my IDE because the type of obj is object. So I must explicitly cast to a. Casting the obj to a is very simple. You have to just type the a here and then encapsulating the object now in the brackets, and then I can type a value. So now I can compare the a value of my object and the object to be compared. And if they are equal, I returns true, otherwise I return false. Now I will create two objects, object 1 and object 2. Next I will call equals method to compare these objects. So a object dot equals a object 2. Running the program, you will see that it returns true. If I change the value passed to the constructor of a object 2, running program again, you will see it returns false. So our equals method works perfectly.